Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. This is just a quick video. I thought I'd just start by showing these two cattleya buds, which are, oh, they're getting bigger by the day. I'm really pleased with this. This is Cattleya Yarak Summer. And given the word summer is in its title, I'm pretty sure, as the colour is starting to show, we should be looking at summery colours in the yellows, possibly oranges or reds. That will probably be the colour on the lip, just sort of showing at the moment. But as an ongoing saga, if you look down in the crown of that individual leaf, you can see that white stuff again. Now this plant's been sprayed, but like I said, the soapy wash can only work with an individual bug at that level, not colonies and things like that, that is completely covered in the soapy wash spray. And you've only got to miss a couple and they're off again. So, you know, the heavy duty insecticide that I've got, this is where the panic and the logic discussion comes in. What we're thinking about, the insecticide I'm going to use is systemic. Now, one of its instructions says should not be applied when the roots are dry. And I sort of just put that statement to one side because of the problem I've got like this, with these infernal soft scale that just will not die. So the systemic stuff should do the job. So the air of panic is there on the grounds. You know, I'm coming into winter. There shouldn't be any more bugs coming in from outside. The cold spell we had should have just knocked them out until next year. So all I've got to deal with is what's in here now, lurking, hiding. In some cases, not so well hiding. Yeah, I can see you lot. But you see what I'm getting at. So first of all, because I'm on my plants, like a rash, I know which plants are already wet at the roots because I keep notes of when they were last watered and things like that. And my idea was to spray the whole plant room and blow the water in the crowns, blow the drips all over other plants because they're all going to get soaking wet anyway. But then this little statement came in, you know, that the plants don't want to be... Oh, look, I've just noticed that twinkle's opened. Ooh. So that's just opened since yesterday. So I have another twinkle out in bloom. That's 3. There's the pink one up the back there, the cinnamon one at the front, and now this little one here. I think that actually is tiny twinkle. Yeah, so even smaller. Strange. The twinkles have a strange bloom. It's quite complex compared with normal oncidium blooms, which are very, very simplistic. You know, the dancing lady shape is typical and predictable. But the twinkles have quite a complex bloom. But the tiny twinkle is simpler in its shape. Sorry, in this light, which is abysmal today. It's a typical English winter day. Rubbish. Yeah, so back to the topic. You know me, I wander off. Oh, that Vanda's opening. Yay! Well, I'll get closer on that when it's actually open. That's the big white one with the purple lip thing. Yeah, so why do the roots need to be wet for a systemic to work? I've tried doing a bit of research on this and came up with some very vague answers and some non-distinct answers and didn't really come up with an answer. So I've come up with my own. If you think of what a systemic has to do, it has to get to all parts of the plant. Now you spray the leaves. There is no necessity with this particular one to spray the whole plant, you know, the undersides and this, that and the other. It says to spray the leaves up to runoff point, which isn't absolutely soaking wet, but you need to get a good coating on the plant nonetheless. But then what's going to happen? That's going to be absorbed into those parts of the plants. But to do its job properly, it's got to get to all parts of the plant. So how's that going to happen then? If the roots are dry, the plant is drier inside, and the movement of the nutrients and the moisture around the plant slows up because it's not being pushed. Yeah, all the transfer of those things between the cells is to do with the cell walls and one side having a higher concentration than the other side, and things move through the plant. I'm not getting technical on that because it is flipping technical, but it just does. So for the systemic to get round the whole plant, the movement needs to be there at the cell levels, and to achieve that, it needs to be moist. That makes sense to me. I can't find a definitive answer to this, but it makes sense to me. It might be nonsense to you lot, I don't know. So basically I have no need to do the whole plant room in one hit. I need to make sure my plants are moist at the roots. This stuff probably isn't going to work on a dormant plant. So, then therein lies a potential problem. Now, I've got my dendrobiums, many of which are at the start of their resting period. They're not in their full rest yet, but they've had their water cut right down. They've had their feed stopped and the temperatures are cooler. So they're on their way. The full winter rest for those that need it can't happen till after Christmas because it involves a bedroom. And over the Christmas holidays, the bedrooms are going to be in use with people, what they're designed to be for. So I can't get going till probably the first week in January, where they're all going to get hung up in that spare bedroom facing southwest, the brightest window I've got. They'll be quite close to the glass, the radiator will be off, and I'll have the control of how much water they get. And I can visit them, possibly daily or every other day, and see if there's any desiccation of bulbs, which indicates they might need a little bit more water than they've had, because I'm not having them shriveling up. I don't do that. So as far as this chemical is concerned, I can get going today on some, I don't know whether you can see that, it's not going to focus. There's a little robin just come on the bush outside. I doubt if you can see that through the gap. Oh, I love robins. They say Christmas to me as well. Don't know why, because they're on the Christmas cards, I suppose. One of my favourite little birds. Lovely songstress. Anyway, so my theory is that as long as my plants are moist at the roots and that moisture is actively moving through the plant, the systemic's going to do its job, what it was designed to do. So I'm going to get on with it in stages. I'm not going to try and do the whole plant room in one hit. I think that might be a little bit iffy on the amount of moisture and stuff that it would actually generate, when the temperatures are cool. I mean, it's only about 7-8 degrees outside and miserable and damp. It's horrible. So that was the plan. I'll let you know how I get on. But, the fact that this plant's down, it's coming into bloom, and, this was a seedling. That leaf is on the oldest pseudobulb. It's had its day. And when this is finished blooming, it hopefully will push out more than one lead this time, because it's quite a fit plant, and it's got an extensive root system all around the back of the mount. It's a fit plant, and under those circumstances it might manage more than one lead once it's finished blooming. Most cattleyas don't push up a new growth while actively in bloom. They normally wait till the blooms are over, then they sort of breathe a sigh of relief, right, that's that done. I'll have a little bit of a rest, and then we'll think about moving on and chucking some new growths out. They don't all work like that, but it's a general pattern. So anyway, I'm going to get going with this spray. Poor pussycat's lost his chair to sleep on, because he's not allowed in, not for a while anyway. And I'll have minimal contact out here sort of thing. Every time I handle plants, I've really got to worry about washing hands and things like that. I've got to take the precautions. This is evil blinking stuff. And thanks for people who commented, this type of chemical kills bees. It's outrageous that it's allowed to be out in our environment with very little control. The farmers seem to do what they flipping like, and I often know from first-hand experience of when I used to live out in the country that they break the rules for the sake of their crops. Well, that's fine, but what about the sake of our world? Let's have a bit of thought here. So, a chemical like this will not escape my grow room. I won't let it outside. It's flipping dangerous, and anything that harms bees has just got to be stopped. We lose our bees, we lose probably a third of our food, and we haven't got enough to go round as it is. Well, we have, but it's all in the wrong places. So anyway, you know, when you're using serious chemicals that are on a special shelf, in my case, around this area, where you're not allowed to just pick it up and take it to the counter, you have to have a lecture first. You know, use them carefully and watch the environment, watch our outside world. It's precious. We've only got one. And according to Mr. Hawking, we ain't going to last much longer if we're not careful as a species, because we just destroy instead of creating. So let's be a bit more creative and think about our wildlife and our tiny little insects that we take no notice of outdoors, where they where they're supposed to be, not in here. Those in here are doomed. Okay, just a quickie, and I'll get onto that Vanda. That looks like one's opening, the next one, the next one up the stem's not far off, so probably in a week that'll have 3 or 4 open, and we can have a close look at that one again. Because the blooms that were on it when I got it didn't actually last that long, so I didn't see them for very long. I didn't even get a decent picture of them. But yeah, we'll move on to that later on. So that's it for today. I'm now going to endanger life, shall we say, but it's confined to my world in here. And life that's in here that is not green is about to be dead in some cases. So let's get at it. I'm dreading this. I'm not looking forward to doing this. I really don't want to use this stuff. But, you know, the damage on some of my plants. I know it's a bit selfish, but for show purposes, a plant with spots on its leaves where it's had a bite taken out of it and it's caused the cells to die around that little thing just doesn't look nice anymore. The blooms will still be smashing, but the plant's lost its edge. You know, it's not as nice looking as it should be. And, you know, having had a sort of talk from a judge on how they approach judging, you know, their main criteria is how near to this plant's potential is the plant I'm looking at. So it's based on what the plant is capable of doing and how close you are to that. Now that's one set of judging rules. They don't all come at it from that point of view, but certainly in the world where I'm putting in plants, that, you know, the judging rules stay the same. I'm not liable to have a plant specifically under an RHS judge's nose unless it's part of one of our displays, and my plants get put into our displays to bulk them up. I like to be honest. Mine are not supposed to be the best plants in the display. That's not why I've put them there. I've put them there because they're in bloom and I was asked to do so, and I'm willing to contribute. So that's my line on it anyway. I'm just trying to find a couple of examples of a plant that would be marked down, but most of them are not accessible, so I can't get at them. But you know what I'm getting at, you know, where you've had some bugs that have stayed on for too long, like scale insects. Once you kill them off and they come off the leaf, there's a little spot there. And that spot's prone to infections and things. So, you know, they cause damage in a confined space like this. And they're about to die. Well, some of them anyway. Okay, see you again next time. Thanks for dropping by. Oh, and another quick word as well. We got some bad mouthers around upsetting people and putting people off on YouTube. That's not what YouTube's about. You're not welcome. Don't get near me. Let's be nice out there. Let's be good to people who've put the effort in to make their videos, show their plants, talk about their problems and discuss them so that others can learn. And if you disagree with what somebody said, make a polite comment and explain why. There's no need to get nasty. Never a need to get nasty. Just pull it in, guys. Keep it in your pants, as they say over here. And let's just be nice out there. It's a lovely world, the world of orchids. Don't try and spoil it. And most of those people who cough up those sort of abuses like that don't post videos, possibly don't even grow orchids, or they've got one sat on the bloody windowsill. And that's my insult for the day. If you take part in this world, you know what it's like. It is a world, and it's an open world. There is never a need to be nasty. Keep it cool. And at the moment, my plants are cool as well. And so am I. See you next time.